My lawyer has already drawn up the papers. From this moment, this house is mine. My brother's voice echoed off the chandelier crystals like a sentence handed down in a courtroom. He didn't even blink when he turned to the crowd, lifting his glass higher. She is no longer welcome here. Laughter rippled through a few relatives, the kind that cuts sharper than words. My husband's lips curled around his wineglass, unmoved, sipping like betrayal was vintage red. My best friend squeezed my hand under the table, nails digging into my palm to remind me I was still flesh, still breathing. Everyone, my name is Ilara Quinn, I'm 29. And if you think you know where this story goes, hold your breath. Because I once believed family was my anchor. But what if the anchor is what drags you under? The room swam in murmurs, clinking cutlery, and the quiet cough of an uncle pretending not to notice. My brother, in his tailored suit, basked in the center like he'd rehearsed this scene for months. I watched him, and instead of rage, I felt something colder, something that hummed beneath my skin: calculation. This was my housewarming. My walls. My furniture. My story. And yet, in one practice sentence, he painted me as an intruder. I wanted to stand, to scream, to rip the smugness from his face. But I didn't. I counted instead. 3, 2, 1. And silence descended, thick and consuming. The kind that makes even chandeliers seem afraid to sway. In that silence, every eye flicked toward me, waiting for the explosion. But I smiled. Just barely. A curve of lips that said nothing, and everything. Inside, my chest burned with the betrayal of my own blood. The same brother who once begged me to hide his secrets in our childhood attic now paraded mine in front of strangers. My husband's stillness cut deeper. No defense, no outrage, just a sip. And my best friend's hand, a lifeline trembling, telling me, don't fall apart, not yet. In that silence, I learned something dangerous. There is more power in restraint than in rage. My brother thought the show was his. But I had already begun writing a script he would never forget. Because silence is the loudest countdown. And mine had only just begun. The silence didn't break me. It broke them. A cousin cleared his throat too loudly, another shuffled his chair, and still my brother grinned, mistaking the hush for victory. His glass caught the light as he swirled it, savoring the moment. Don't just sit there, he said, almost taunting me. You knew this was coming. You've always been the guest in your own home. His words were arrows dipped in years of buried jealousy. But I didn't flinch. Instead, I felt my friend's thumb press against mine under the table, a steady rhythm: stay still, stay sharp. I studied the room like a battlefield. The uncles leaned back, arms crossed, pretending neutrality. The aunts whispered behind napkins, their whispers rising like smoke. My husband, oh, my husband. He leaned casually against the chair, half smile pressed tight, eyes avoiding mine. He was too comfortable in my brother's shadow. Too complicit. Inside, my pulse raced, not from shock, but from clarity. His declaration wasn't spontaneous. This was rehearsed theater. A script drafted not only by my brother but backed by someone who knew my weaknesses. Someone who stood closer than blood. I lifted my glass slowly, matching his rhythm. Interesting, I said softly, my voice low enough to make them lean in. But tell me, brother, when did you start trading loyalty for signatures? Was it before or after you borrowed money you never repaid? His smirk faltered. Just a flicker, but enough. My words laced the air like cracks forming in polished marble. My friend tightened her grip under the table. A silent cheer. A secret promise: I'm with you. The crowd shifted uncomfortably, sensing the spark of something bigger than a family quarrel. And in that moment, I realized, my brother wasn't the only one who had prepared for this night. Because sometimes, revenge doesn't arrive in thunder. It begins in whispers that cut deeper than screams. And I was ready to whisper louder than anyone had ever dared. His smirk cracked. Barely, but I saw it. That flicker of panic he tried to bury beneath arrogance. He set his glass down too quickly, the sound ringing sharp across the table. Don't twist this, he snapped. Everyone here knows you've been reckless. Someone had to step in before you destroyed everything. The audience leaned closer, hungry for drama. My chest rose slowly, deliberately. I didn't rush my reply. Destroyed everything? Or build something you couldn't stand to watch me own. Gasps fluttered. The chandelier light shimmered on a dozen shifting eyes. My brother's jaw tightened, but his gaze darted, first to my husband, then to the papers folded neatly in his jacket pocket. That's when it struck me. My husband wasn't silent because he was neutral. He was silent because he already knew. My stomach tightened like a knot pulled too fast. Betrayal had a face, and it was the one sipping wine beside me. I glanced at him, forcing his eyes to meet mine. He looked away first. Confirmation. The silence turned heavier, like storm clouds pressing low. My best friend's hand trembled against mine, but not from fear, from fury she couldn't show. Let me be clear, my brother continued, voice rising. The deed is signed, the lawyer will confirm it. This isn't yours anymore. His certainty was rehearsed, but the tremor in his tone betrayed him. He wasn't invincible. He was cornered by his own lie. And everyone in that room felt it ripple. I leaned forward, my voice barely above a whisper, the kind of whisper that forces people to stop breathing just to catch it. You may think you've stolen my house, brother. But you've only built the stage for your own unraveling. The chandelier flickered once, as if even the electricity held its breath. The countdown hadn't ended. It had only sharpened. And I could feel every pair of eyes waiting for the next explosion, not realizing I held the match. The match burned in my hand, invisible but scorching. I let the silence stretch until it felt unbearable, until the room itself leaned forward. Then I spoke, softly, deliberately. If you truly believe the deed is yours, brother, then why do your hands shake every time you mention it? His fingers froze mid-gesture, trembling against the stem of his glass. A hush swept through the guests, their gazes snapping to the tiny betrayal of nerves in his posture. He tried to laugh it off, but the sound came brittle, hollow. My husband cleared his throat. Finally. Enough, he said, too calm, too rehearsed. This isn't the place for family drama. Everyone came here to celebrate. I turned to him slowly, my eyes narrowing. Celebrate what? My home? Or the illusion that loyalty still lives under this roof? The words sliced through the air. My husband flinched, just enough for me to see it. That was the moment the truth became undeniable. He wasn't just complicit. He was invested. Across the table, my best friend sat rigid, eyes blazing though her lips never moved. She squeezed my hand once, hard, like she was passing strength into my bloodstream. And it worked. My fear dulled into something sharper, cleaner, focus. Tell them, brother, I pressed, voice steady. Who funded your lawyer? Who fed you the details of my mortgage, my accounts, my weakest points? Was it you alone? His eyes flicked, just for a second, toward my husband. It was enough. The room gasped, like the collective sound of masks slipping. My brother's smirk returned, but thinner now, stretched too tight. Careful, Ilara. You've always had a wild imagination. I leaned back, smiling faintly. Imagination builds stories. Evidence ends them. And I assure you, I have both. The chandelier swayed gently above, light scattering like fractured truth across polished glasses. Every guest sat frozen, caught between spectacle and revelation. And in that fragile stillness, I knew the tide had turned. The housewarming party had transformed into something else entirely. My courtroom, my battlefield. The unraveling had only just begun. The cracks widened before my eyes. My brother's voice faltered, my husband's jaw clenched, and the guests shifted in their seats as if sensing they were no longer partygoers but witnesses. The chandelier light gleamed on every wine glass like a gallery of judgment. I let the weight of their silence press harder. Then I tilted my head, smiling as if humoured by a private joke. Do you remember, brother, when we were kids and you begged me to hide those report cards? The ones showing you'd failed the same class twice. His face flushed crimson. Murmurs rippled across the room. He opened his mouth, but I didn't let him speak. You've always been good at hiding your failures behind louder stories. And now, you've dragged my husband into your theatre. But tell me, who benefits most when I'm gone? The question hung in the air like smoke. All eyes darted toward my husband. He set his glass down carefully, too carefully. His lips parted, ready to defend himself, but nothing came out. My best friend leaned closer, her voice low enough for only me to hear. They've underestimated you. Keep going. I looked back at the crowd. Family isn't just about blood. It's about trust. And tonight, in my home, you've shown me exactly who trusts betrayal more than truth. My brother tried to laugh, but the sound rang false. You don't have proof, Ilara. You have stories. And stories won't save you. I lifted my glass. You're right. Stories don't save me. They save the people who hear them, the ones who finally see the mask slip. Proof, though, proof destroys. A sharp knock rattled the front door. Every head turned. The timing was flawless, almost cinematic. My brother stiffened, my husband froze. I rose from my seat slowly, my dress brushing against the chair legs, and smiled at the room. Proof, I whispered, always knows when to arrive. The knocking came again, louder, demanding. And in that sound, the stage I'd been waiting for cracked wide open. The knock thundered again, louder this time, rattling the silverware against porcelain. Every guest's eyes followed me as I crossed the polished floor, my heels clicking like a gavel striking wood. My brother's voice rose behind me, sharp with panic. Don't open it, Ilara. That panic was all the confirmation I needed. I pulled the door wide. Standing there was a courier in a dark suit, a leather satchel slung across his chest. He adjusted his glasses and spoke with practiced calm. Delivery for Ms. Ilara Quinn. Legal documents. Sign here, please. A ripple tore through the crowd. My brother surged forward, face paling. That's mine, he barked, snatching for the envelope. The courier recoiled, eyes narrowing. I'm afraid not, sir. This package is addressed to Ms. Quinn, verified by ID. His hand extended toward me, steady. I signed, my pen slicing across paper like a blade. The courier placed the sealed envelope into my hand. Heavy. Certain. I thanked him, and as the door clicked shut behind me, silence reigned. I returned to the table slowly, savoring the dread spreading across my brother's face. My husband sat rigid, sweat beading along his temple. My best friend whispered, "Open it." I tore the seal. Inside were copies of my deed, notarized, stamped, indisputable, along with correspondence from the bank. Every payment traced, every signature aligned. And then, tucked neatly at the back, a revelation, forged attempts. My brother's name. My husband's signature. The air turned electric. I laid the papers flat on the table, the evidence gleaming beneath the chandelier light. You wanted a stage, I said softly. Here it is. Gasps surged like a wave. My brother lunged forward, but froze when every pair of eyes locked on him. My husband's lips moved as if to explain, but no words formed. He looked smaller now, swallowed by truth. And me? I didn't need to shout. My silence carried more weight than any scream. The housewarming party had become a reckoning. And the reckoning wasn't over yet. The room pulsed with tension, every breath shallow, every glance sharpened. My brother's hand hovered over the papers like a thief caught mid-act. My husband leaned back, eyes darting between me and the damning signatures, as if searching for an escape route invisible to the rest of us. I straightened, letting the silence weigh heavier. Then I spoke, calm, measured. Forgery. Conspiracy. Betrayal. All dressed up as family concern. My voice trembled not with fear, but with power. Tell me, brother, how long did you think this charade would last? Until I moved out? Until I collapsed under the shame? He stammered, words tumbling without coherence. The confidence had drained from him, leaving only raw desperation. It wasn't supposed to go this far. Aunt Lydia gasped audibly. Someone muttered, unbelievable. The party had become tribunal, and my brother stood accused. I turned my gaze on my husband. His stillness betrayed him more than words. And you, I said, my tone sharper. You knew. You let him feed on my trust while you poured my wine. He shifted, finally meeting my eyes, but all I saw was cowardice. It was just business, he muttered, weak, the excuse of a man who'd already lost. Business. I echoed, my voice breaking into something colder. Marriage is not business. Trust is not currency. And betrayal is never profit. My best friend released my hand, rising slowly to her feet. Her voice cut through the haze. You've both underestimated her. That was your first mistake. Your last was assuming she wouldn't fight back. The crowd stirred, emboldened. Whispers grew into judgments, judgments into verdicts. My brother shrank beneath the weight of eyes, my husband drowning in silence that condemned louder than words. I gathered the documents, pressing them to my chest like armor. This house doesn't belong to you, I said clearly, firmly. It never did. But tonight, everyone will remember it as the place you lost more than walls. You lost me. The chandelier swayed, its crystals clinking like applause from the universe itself. And still, one final act remained. The final act unfolded not with shouting, but with quiet clarity. I stood at the head of my table, the papers spread before me like a crown reclaimed. The same guests who had once whispered doubts now stared at me with a different weight in their eyes, respect, even awe. My brother's shoulders slumped, his bravado leaking out with every second. Ilara, listen, he began, but the words cracked, fragile. He wasn't the conqueror anymore. He was just a boy caught in his own trap. I lifted the deed, holding it to the light. You tried to erase me. But the truth leaves ink you can't wash away. My voice was steady, each syllable slicing deeper than any courtroom could. This house is mine. My life is mine. And your betrayal has no place within these walls. The guests shifted, nodding subtly. Even those who had stayed neutral now leaned toward me. The tide had turned, and it was irreversible. I looked at my husband next. He wouldn't meet my gaze, his hand tightening around his glass until it trembled. You chose silence when your voice could have mattered, I said softly. And in silence, you revealed who you are. So tonight, my vow is simple, you will never share my table again. He swallowed hard, but said nothing. That silence was his confession. My best friend slipped her arm through mine, grounding me. Her presence was proof that loyalty still lived, even when blood and vows crumbled. I turned back to the crowd, my words quiet but resolute. Let tonight be remembered not as the night I was betrayed, but as the night betrayal lost. The chandelier above gleamed brighter, scattering light across polished wooden shattered illusions. My brother lowered his head, my husband shrank in his chair, and the guests began to rise, some in support, others in shame. I pressed the papers against my heart, and for the first time that evening, I truly breathed. The weight lifted, replaced not by rage but by clarity. Betrayal had built this stage. Justice had closed the curtain.